So essentially what I want to do in this podcast is just to talk about the market in general and just talk about what's going on, what are happening, some predictions if I could, and lots of failures of what I say as well. So those things are going to all exist. So it's going to be a fun ride. About me, before I became a real estate agent, I was a chef for 8 years, and I was planning to open my business, but it didn't work out. My wife and I talked about not opening a business because I'm a workaholic. I work a lot, and I was telling my wife I'm probably gonna work from 9 o'clock in the morning to like 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock every day, and she didn't like that. And by that time, when we decided not to do business, we already had our first child. And that moment when I had my first child, it hit me that, I can't do this anymore. So I transitioned into real estate. And now that I transitioned to real estate, why I did, because I was doing transactions already. I bought pre-construction condo. I sold a pre-construction condo. I bought a semi-detached, and I was renting that semi-detached for like 8, 9, 10, almost 9, 10 years. I was a landlord starting early 20s, and mid 20s, not early 20s. And I also bought pre-construction detached home, and I sold that a couple years ago, like a year ago. So I have quite a lot of experience buying and selling. And in between that period, of course, I work with realtors. I work with a couple of realtors, and because I believed in real estate, and I believed in real estate primarily because it's one of the outlets that can create equity tax-free. Because what other ways can you make money that's tax-free in Canada? I'm not that smart. I can't say other things other than real estate, primary home, primary residence. That's the only thing in Canada right now, and that's why I think it just makes sense that you buy real estate and you hold that real estate to make money off of it. Of course, landscape has changed significantly from early 2022 to 2026 now. There's a significant change in landscape, and from before as well, like early 2010s to like late 2010s, there was a significant difference as well. So the market's always shifting and turning, and it has a cycle of its own. And I'm not an expert at reading the cycle, but I try to follow it, and I try to educate myself so that when I have clients, I can at least tell them, what I think about and how I feel about the market. So today, the segue is, I wanted to talk about rental market. I think it's one of the huge markets that it's rental market. It's a place where you buy a rental property and you rent it out and make money. That's the premises. But Toronto is completely different. You don't make money. You pay you have carrying costs. You pay monthly expenses like mortgage, property taxes, maintenance fee, and let me tell you, it doesn't that does not cover your mortgage, maintenance fee, and your property taxes if you rent out the place, unless the property is at least 10 years old or 10 10 to 12 years old, or you have a lot of down payment that you did to your property so it stays afloat. I'm not going to get too much into detail, but obviously having a negative cash flow is good in a way, because it is a place that you can deduct taxes as well. So I'm not an expert at it. You can talk to an accountant for that, but I know that's a possibility, and that's one of the outlets as well. Going forward, okay, so what's happening in downtown right now? So do a little recap of 2021 during COVID. Everybody left Canada, and rental market was going down into shambles like crazy. The prices dropped significantly. And 2022, going into 2022, 23, there was influx. There was so many people coming in all over the world in such a high pace. And I remember working as as an agent at that time. You needed to give 1 year upfront. You needed to see the property ASAP. Actually, you didn't even see the property if the floor plan or photo was there, because people needed to go back to school. People needed to stay in Toronto somehow, some way, or anywhere, and they needed a place to stay. And we had not enough supply, but abundant demand, a significant amount of demand. So rent prices was jumping crazy left and right, especially during June, July, August, and September. It was fire. Like it was fire. It was nonstop rent. It was crazy. Anyways, so that was that. And the reason behind that is because we had immigration of like more than 1 million people in 2022 and 2023. Yeah, of course, there's obviously PR numbers in there. There's work permit holders there. There's international students in there. So altogether, there was a lot of people coming in, and that's why our rental market was booming. And at that point as well, interest rates were starting to increase. So a lot of the time, when the interest rate increases, your mortgage payment increases as well if you're variable. But if you're fixed, it doesn't matter. But however, we don't know that as like tenants, or we don't, and as a landlord, you don't want to tell the tenants, yeah, I fixed, so like my carrying cost is the same. So like, don't worry about it. No, it's an opportunity for landlords to make money. So the rent prices were going significant, like they were going higher and higher every so often. It was a great time. I'll put it that way. It was a great time, okay? And what's happening with the rental market now? It's that was a golden time for rental properties. It was for rentals, like for sure. And of course, buying and selling as well. It was a golden time. Properties were going like crazy expensive, and then it crashed. And rental market as well, it's crashing. And we're going to talk about purchase and sales later, next time. This time we're talking about rentals. So rentals are going downhill right now. There's a lot of rental properties there, and there's not enough demand, and people are not moving as much, and there's not enough immigration coming in. So last year we stopped immigration altogether, and this year we still don't have a lot of immigration coming in. So the demand has dropped significantly. And every year, last year, we had abundant condos finish their construction and coming to market. So even if there was demand, the supply was abundant as well. Because the supply was abundant, there was no need for prices to go up. Instead, prices were dropping since 2023. It never really increased. Unless, of course, you're at some part of the city that is desirable. Like, for example, a lot of young professionals go to entertainment district to live there. And it's great. It has access to path. It has a lot of amenities, lifestyle amenities nearby. A lot of young professional. So everybody comes into that specific hotspot and they want to live there. And same thing goes to Riverdale. If there's rental, people want to go there because it's still close to downtown and has good school and a lot of young families there. Of course, people want to buy there significantly, and we'll talk about that later. So, why is immigration? So, talking about supply and demand, now we can clearly tell we have more condos to come as well. We have more pre-constructions that's finishing this year, next year, next year, until 2029, basically. And starting 2030, I think there is not a lot of pre-construction condos being built. On top of that, a lot of people are also leaving Canada, Toronto. Let's say Toronto specifically, they're going to somewhere else because lifestyle in Toronto is very expensive, and a lot of people are going to different provinces as well. So there's not enough demand. The demand has shrunk, but the supply has increased. So there's our problem initially right now. That's why the price is not going up as much. But on top of that, there are there were a lot of pre-construction sales that was happening even until 2023, 2024, 2023 and 2022. And the condo projects that started late into 2022 to 2023 didn't sell enough. And guess what? They turned into purpose-built rentals. And a lot of companies, a lot of condo developers are building their condo site as a purpose-built rentals, and a lot of different companies that are not builders are building purpose-built rentals as well. Fitzrovia is one. Greywood at Dundas and Church is one. There's one in Shepherd as well. There's a lot of condo projects that were supposed to be condos turned into purpose-built rentals, and a lot of purpose-built rentals are being built as well. Currently in 2025 second quarter, it is reported that there's 24,000 units, purpose-built rental units being constructed. So already, right at this time, landlords are having difficulty trying to find tenants, but there's going to be more competition down the road called, purpose-built rentals. And there are lots of purpose-built rentals across the city, and there's a lot in Midtown in Eglinton as well, downtown, close to University of Toronto, everywhere. It's everywhere right now. And those are not apartments that you used to see back in 1950s and 40s and 60s built. They are luxury. They're called luxury, but they're really built well rental properties that serves as condo almost. They are like condo suites. So a lot of people are going to that route as well, because a lot of renters don't want to deal with landlords who may want to exit out of their condominium investment, having difficulty getting things fixed, etc., etc. There are so many reasons, but a lot of renters feel that purpose-built rentals are has more stability than individual landlords renting out the property. So that's what's happening as well. Anyways, so that's why ultimately right now I do believe that the rental market it's gonna go downhill even further. The prices are gonna go down further, um, as there's gonna be more supply into the market, but there's not enough demand because. And here's the thing, in order, and that's a segue to my another thing. So in order for us to get this rental market going, to favoring to in order to consume all these supply, now we need to bring in more people. But guess what? We just had so many people coming in such a short time that everybody's fed up. Everybody doesn't like it anymore. Everybody thinks this is not Canada anymore. So we're in a very sticky situation that we need immigration, like good immigration, but everybody is not, nobody wants to look at immigration at this time. So if you have a rental property right now, it might be a good time to exit, because if you can't keep that property floating for next 3, 4, 5 years, you're going to get into trouble. And that's why you have to understand what's happening in the rental market. And but I have a good news for you. So if you have a rental property right now, and if it's vacant, or if the condominium allows Airbnb, it's a great time for you, because we have World Cup coming, and I already told my clients like months in advance that we're gonna have World Cup in Toronto, so it's gonna be great time if you can do Airbnb in that house or condo. I've been already telling them about that. And same thing to you guys. Now that I'm here with you and my podcast, it'd be really good idea if you have a condo that can do Airbnb. You want to rent out your property. Like, you want to go to your parents' house for like a month and rent out your 1-bedroom apartment, 2-bedroom apartment, 1-bedroom condo, 2-bedroom condo for like a month. Because that's going to make a lot of money within a short period of time. And it will be worth it. So right now it's March. World Cup is starting June. You still have 3 months. And I think you can get the permit going, you can set up the Airbnb and all that stuff and make money. So this is a good time for you to, if you're thinking of that specifically, and if you have a condo that does Airbnb, that's a good time. Condos that does Airbnb some of them are on Jarvis and Dundas, at Concord Places, at Telegram Muse, not Telegram Muse, Queens Wharf, Merchant. Wait, Queens Wharf. So there are quite a list of condominiums that does allow short-term rentals. So if you have any of these condos right now, it would be a great time for you to do Airbnb and make some extra cash. I think it would be really nice. But other than that, that's all. I think that's all. Everything. At the end of the day, right now, rental market, it's going down. Prices are going to go down. There's going to be more supply than demand. This could only change if we have more immigrants coming into Canada who are qualified, and we take a lot of them in order for them to consume the supply. And as a guy who's working with a lot of immigrants as well, when they do come in, they're looking for rental. They're not buying anything, But next down the road, a couple of years later, yeah, that's when they buy. And the great part about them coming in is they bring a lot of cash, and they use that money to run our economy. They buy furnitures, they pay rent to the landlord, they pay taxes on their income, they pay taxes on their goods that they buy. So it's great for Canada as long as they're qualified and as long as they're good people. I think the problem for us right now is that we have immigration right now. For us, is we just had too many people that are not as qualified, and that's why it's having a little bit of problem within our system. But eventually, when everybody goes to work, everybody gets homogeneously mixed together in Canadian culture, I think it'll get all better. But just now, it's just a cycle. Everybody doesn't know Canadian system. Everybody doesn't know the etiquettes of Canada, so it's not as easy. But eventually things will get better, and everybody will become Canadian one day, right? So that's where things are. And where was I? Yeah. Rent prices. I think it's going to go down in the next couple of years. We need more immigration in order for rent prices to go up, and we have lots of supply still hitting the market. I think there's about 30,000 condominiums, and I think in next year, and we're gonna have more rental properties, like purpose-built rentals, coming in. So that's gonna be in the next couple of years as well. So we're gonna have abundant supply coming in. So if you are a condo investor, if you have condo, and if you are struggling a little bit, if you're not under the water but you're getting into under the water, and if you can keep the condo for next 5, 6, 7 years down the road, then it might be worth it for you to sell it at this time. That's my honest truth. But of course, you make the decision, because you're the homeowner. you're the person that owns the property, and you make the decision. Not everything I say is probably true. I try to be informed. I try to educate myself, but not everything that I say is correct at the end of the day. So, yeah. Disclaimer: this podcast and this what I'm saying is not legal advice or financial advice. You make your decision, and I say what I want to say, and I say things in a way that I understand what's happening in the market, so that you get to be informed, and I get to be, I talk about whatever I want to do, and that's why I'm here. I want to talk about whatever the heck I want. So, anyways, thanks for watching. I hope you have a good day. Bye.